what do you think you can bring to this franchise that maybe they haven't had?
I think just bringing a paint presence defensively for us will be key for us. Just making sure that when guys come in that paint, especially early in games, I'm either contesting the shot, I'm blocking the shot and taking a charge, or I'm fouling somebody. I think the tone that I've set on previous teams, especially early in games, is exactly that. I think if teams get in the paint early, feel good about themselves, it ends up being a long night. So that's something I look to do. And offensive end, take a bit more responsibility than I had in Golden State, be as aggressive as I was in the Olympics for the national team, and just be that confident, aggressive guy that I know I can be offensively.
How big was the Olympics to show that the knee injury from the finals?
Yeah, it was great to play. It's always good to play for your country, but it was in doubt for a lot of the preparation. My timeline was 6 to 8 weeks. Our first Olympic game was about 5.5 to 6. I made the call the day before the first game where I felt good enough to go. It was tough in a way, not a whole lot of conditioning or a whole lot of training. I could have really prepared myself to get into the Olympics, but ended up getting there, and I was happy to be there. I probably peaked a little early, played really well early, and fell off a little bit towards the end, but it was a good experience. Disappointing one for us. Obviously, Hurt's still talking about it today. The last 2 games for us didn't finish the way we wanted them to finish, and that's sport. Something we're going to work towards for the next Olympics.
The Warriors only needed you to play so much, 21, 22 minutes last season. There might be an expectation that you're going to play a little bit more. How does that change things for you at your games? Just your season overall, playing a little bit more.
Just be ready to play more. We went small a lot in Golden State. Played spot minutes here and there depending on matchups, but I know there's a whole lot more minutes available here, obviously. And look, I'm not one of those veterans that has to play 40 or gets offended by getting benched one game where someone else is rolling. Hey, if someone behind me gets in the game and has an impact, I'm the first guy cheering for him, and if we win the game at the end of the night, that's all that really matters. So I anticipate playing more minutes, but at the same time, whatever's going to help the team go in the right direction.
Is there a point where too many minutes? Is there a range where you look at as saying kind of this is ideal?
Not really. Look, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. I dropped a bunch of weight the last couple of years. I haven't really had any crazy injuries the last 2 or 3 years since the ankle, so I've played 80% of the games the last couple of years, so I don't really anticipate anything in that sense. Obviously, you start playing 40, mid low 40s, back-to-back nights and whatnot, then you got to be careful with that and just manage it the right way. But I'm a professional off the court as much as I can be with recovery and stretching and ice baths and all that kind of stuff, and I'll put in the extra time always to do that. And the injury stigma thing is just unfortunate impact injuries that I've always had. I've never had an injury from playing too many minutes. It's always been car accident type impacts that I've walked under too many ladders for, I guess. I don't know.
Andrew, there was a lot being made about Draymond being suspended from Game 5. Talk about you being able to, you were sitting out the last 2 games. You don't think injuries can impact that way?
Yeah, it was tough. The injury and the way it happened, I thought I was in bigger trouble than I was because I heard 2 pops when I did it. And the best case scenario after that was 6 to 8 weeks. So it sounds funny, but I was pretty thankful that it was that and not something else. But just being able to, I couldn't even walk the first week, and being in the back of the locker room and watching the games, that's kind of the tail end of the season where you want to be there. You play almost every game in the regular season, the playoffs leading up to it, and then it gets taken away from you. But you can't cry over spilt milk. Put in the work. I had another thing to prepare for 6 weeks later, and I put in the work for that. The disappointment of that feeling to try and push into an Olympic Games, and was kind of on to the next thing. And it was probably a good thing that I didn't have the whole summer to think about, to be quite honest. I didn't really dwell on it too much because I had to prepare for the national team.
At one point, did you think you were going to miss the Olympics?
Yeah. I was on the, once the trade happened, I was on the phone to the docs here, the trainer here, Mark, and they were obviously skeptical, rightfully so. I totally understand it. I told them, look, I'm an honest guy. I'm doing my rehab as much as I can. If this thing's right, I want to play. If it's not right, I'm going to be honest with you guys and tell you it's not right. And they were very, very supportive of it. I know Mark's not huge on guys playing for their national teams, with the history of Dirk and whatnot, but I couldn't be more thankful for how professional they were throughout the process, and I ended up, going to my third Olympics, so it was a great moment.
Hustling to get yourself ready for the Olympics and then, went through the travel and the games. Where do you think that sets you up now physically? Like, in good shape or maybe a little bit summer wear and tear? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's a long off season, but we're professional athletes and we play basketball for a living. So, if I wasn't playing Olympics, I would have been working out anyway. So, I don't think it's taking a toll on my body in that sense. I think I'll probably come in a little bit better shape than you do in most years because I was only playing 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I don't anticipate it being a problem.
What's your opinion on the national anthem protests and the issues related to that?
I think it's a country that prides itself on free speech. So if somebody, Kaepernick, and they want to do that, it's more than their right. On a personal level, for me, I know there's a lot of history here that goes centuries back, which I can't really relate to too much growing up in Australia. I mean, we have our own issues down there, but being around obviously a lot of African American teammates, I'm kind of being more and more educated upon it throughout my career. But in the same sense, it's hard for me. America's been a place that's let me live my dream and play, NBA basketball at the highest level, like a boatload of money, doing something that I love doing. So, I understand from an African American's point of view or a teammate's point of view if they didn't want to stand and be part of that kind of protest. But at the same time, I'm thankful. America's provided a lot for myself and my family. So, it's a tough one for me. I'm very supportive of my teammates, but at the same time, I think, the country, much like Australia, is built on free speech. So everyone has an opinion on different types of things, and everyone has a right to do what they feel is right. Criticisms that go either way are a part of life. I think the discussion's been open. You guys are talking about it. This is a basketball media day, and we're talking about politics. So it's obviously the message has hit home, and I think that's what you want to accomplish with that kind of a protest. Rather than having a protest that causes violence and people get hurt, that's the last thing you want to see. So I have no issue with it, with what Colin's doing, and if he thinks that that's going to, obviously help the cause, go for it.
Harrison said he met him, didn't really know him. Did you get to know him at all?
No, I don't know him at all. I know people that have known him or had dealings with him. I think our masseuse was a 49ers masseuse, so that's about the 6 degrees of separation I have with Colin. I'm not really a football fan either, I'm sorry. But I'll be a Cowboys fan, but not a football fan.
When Romo's healthy, back or Romo?
Romo's the hero, isn't it? I don't know. You set me up with something that I'm gonna have all these tweets when I open up my Twitter. Whichever one wins your games, man. If you have to kick it. If you have to throw it. There you go.
Can I ask you about your former coach, Kurt, and, with the organization? Because I know there was some great feelings being able to play for the organization and being part of a historic team as well.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it didn't finish the way we wanted to finish with that record that we got, but playing for Coach was great. He's very, very laid back. He's a very smart guy. He takes molds from different coaches that he's worked with. He's played for some of the best coaches of all time. And I think he's taken little things from all of them. He has a little bit of feel in him as well, philosophically, where he'll sometimes look at things outside of basketball and try to help you out, or if you're having a bad couple of games or whatever it is. And I think most of the guys on the team really respect him for that. And he's the perfect guy for that system.
How do you compare him to Carlisle? Because both of those were both players of the NBA and everything. So.
I'll let you know. Ask me in about a month, and I'll let you know. Look, I heard a lot about Coach Carlisle. I've known a lot of guys that have played for him, and they say, he's tough, but he's fair. The biggest thing I respect about him is the first time we spoke, he's straight to the point. He doesn't sugarcoat. He doesn't try to, these days with all these kids and stuff at colleges, he's not worried about hurting your feelings. He's going to tell you what he thinks and what he thinks you need to do to get better, and you address it. And I more than respect that. I think in today's day and age, we're kind of losing that as a society.
Guys in the past, most recently Zaza, talk glowingly about playing next to Dirk. What do you anticipate playing next to him?
What do I anticipate happening?
Yeah, or how do you view that?
Look, I'm going to try to get him open as much as I can. Get him as much space as I can. And then defensively, there's no secret he's getting up there in age. So guys try to be physical with him and try to do those kind of things. And when they're physical with him, I'll be physical with them. And just try to protect him as much as I can on the defensive end and keep him as fresh as we can to hit those jumpers down the other end.
There were some reports that came out over the summer that you maybe had a choice to come to Dallas. Could you touch on kind of how that trade went down and if you did have a choice to come here?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, Dallas was obviously up there, but a couple other teams had called and had a deal on the table that Golden State were discussing, and basically said if I go there, I'll be asking for a buyout, to put it frankly. And Dallas was one that I wasn't going to ask for a buyout, so I think the Warriors kind of figured out that they probably should send me here.
Why not Houston?
I didn't say Houston.
I reported that Houston.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's interesting.
So why would you have not gone to Houston?
I'm not sure what team's called. It was a long time ago. I just remember it was Dallas. But I'll answer your question in a different way. I like Texas. I've always liked Texas. I like Dallas.
Houston's in Texas.
I like Dallas better. But just the organization, I think, is always, every time I hear about someone, guys like Richard Jefferson, guys that I've played with, they speak so highly of the organization and the way it treats its players and how professional everyone is here. And they're a no-nonsense type of organization, but at the same time, they really go out of their way to help you. So that kind of was perfect for me.
What are you expecting from Harrison this year in terms of a bigger contract and a bigger role in the team?
Obviously, he'll have a bigger role because all you guys will be writing about the numbers that he's making. But I don't think that really is going to affect him too much. I think he's one of the most professional guys I've been around for a guy his age. Usually guys figure out what he's figured out when they're 29, 30, 31 and they start getting injured or whatnot. He's in the gym every day. He does everything off the court he can to better himself as a basketball player and a professional athlete. So I don't think he'll have an issue. I think he still hasn't hit his peak or his ceiling. He's still in his mid-20s. A lot of people forget that, even though he's played in the league for 4 years. But I think he'll be fine. I think he kind of likes these kind of challenges. People are questioning the contract and whatnot. So he'll obviously be one of our number one or two options offensively, and we need him to obviously demand a double team on a nightly basis for us to have a chance to win games.
With the addition of you and Harrison, it feels like the defensive potential is higher on this team than it has been in a long time. Do you think that could be the identity of this team? Maybe lean back on that defense and slow the pace down?
Yeah, look, the pacing is interesting. We have some guys that can get up and down the floor, so you don't want to put too many shackles on us offensively. But every team that's won championships has a defensive identity. We were similar in the Olympics. We kind of made a pact going into the Olympics that our identity's got to be defense. And I think every successful team has a defensive identity. I think we have that. Not only Harrison and myself, but you look at Justin and Wes and Darren. There's a lot of guys that can guard multiple positions. We can have switching lineups. We have some length, and I think it really helps. There's not many teams, if you look back, especially the last decade or so, that are run and gun, high scoring teams that win championships. People look at us, Golden State last season or the season before, and think, they were run and gun, but we're really good defensively too. And that's when things changed when I got to Golden State, was we started playing defense and started winning games. And that's the same here. The Mavs have had a lot of success, and we have to be a defensive-minded team to try and get to a championship game.
Are the Warriors better because of the moves they made this summer?
I really don't know, and not really interested in it too much. It'll play itself out. I heard you guys ask the same question to Harrison, so I imagine it the same way. We're worried about the Mavericks. We're worried about the Mavericks. But we'll see. Time will tell.